Let me paint you a picture. Just, bear with me for a moment. If you knew that a gang wanted to kidnap you, I mean, whether it's the Bloods or the Crips or, I don't know, a gang of guerrillas fighting in the jungle somewhere, if you knew that they had you on a target list, would you go anywhere near where those gangs were known to operate? Probably not, right? Now let's flip it around. Let's say instead of it's a gang, it's some foreign government. Not your government, some foreign government that has put you on a list that says they've accused you of some crime which you know you didn't do. Would you go anywhere where that government could lay its grips on you? The reason I bring it up, obviously, if you've been following the news, has to do with Julian Assange, accused of a crime in Sweden which he has denied. The charges seem to have come out of nowhere back in 2010. Accused of rape. He's like, whoa, that's not me. That's not the kind of person I am. Just happened to come at a time during which he was this high-profile leaker of U.S. secrets. Now, once again, people seem to look at it as it's a crime if you leak your own country's classified information, even if that stuff that's being leaked is criminal in and of itself. And I guess as someone who loves the idea of free speech, who thinks that it ought to be protected from thugs instead of being squashed by thugs, I look at something like what Assange did, and I'm like, you know what, good for you. Because some of that stuff that was leaked by WikiLeaks had been taken through the proper authorities and was not being handled. It was not being talked about. It was not being addressed. And now it is being addressed. A lot of it, you look at some of this illegal hacking stuff that the United States does against its own people, much less against other countries. And I think that people like Assange and Edward Snowden, to another one, are heroes for standing up against the threat not only of incarceration, but possibly death. You think about some of the things that governments do to their enemies of the state. Now, how would you feel? Remember, Assange is not a citizen of the United States. How would you feel if some other country declared you to be an enemy of their state? Well, you'd want to try to protect yourself however you can. And what Assange has done is he's taken refuge inside the Ecuadorian embassy. He's been holed up in there now for several years. How can you live like that? Not being able to leave an embassy because if you do, there's a high likelihood that you're going to be snatched off the street and whisked away to another country where you're going to be tried for a crime that you know you didn't commit. But most likely not even that. You're going to be handed over to some other country that basically wants to kill you for exposing their crimes. I don't know if there's a solution for Mr. Assange, but there is a solution for the rest of us. And that's stop buying into this patriotic BS about how somehow the WikiLeaks people are guilty of anything. They're not. You need to look at what has been released. You need to look at the fact that if there is classified information and that information exposes crimes, it needs to be put out there, whether it's classified or not. And this is coming from somebody who held a higher than top secret clearance when I was in the Army. It's one of those things. I didn't look for it. I didn't want it. And as soon as I was out, I expunged any kind of connection to classify. I don't have a need to know. I don't want to expose myself to that kind of thing. And people who find, because oftentimes what happens is you're finding something that's like, oh my goodness, this is bad. And because you've sworn to uphold this magic document over here, this Constitution or whatever it is, you're now in this point of conflict mentally where you know that if you expose the wrongdoing here, you're also breaking the law. We need to get rid of this idea that somehow the law is superior to what is right. If there is a higher law, then any written law must submit to it. And if the written law is contradictory to that higher law, then we have a responsibility to follow the higher law, don't you think? Let's engage in this conversation. Send me an email, steve@radiofreespeech.com. If you'd like, you can call me on the phone lines. I'm normally in the studio right around noon Alaska time. You'll find the link right there at the website, radiofreespeech.com. Thanks.